Good afternoon, Bayview Mackinac Race fans. I'm Dobbs Davis, here to give you our Monday, midday, July 21st race analysis program. This program is sponsored by VanTol and Vitelli Insurance Group and LCS Record Retrieval. The photo in the backdrop here is more or less what we see out there. It's pretty light air, actually wind out of a slightly different direction. This is a photo of Natalie J, TP52, finishing yesterday about this time. It's not a whole lot different out there now. So let's have a look by going to our tracker. And here on the website, if you refresh it, this is a recent plot of where everybody is. Now, boats are coming in minute by minute. The bulk of the fleet, as you can see, is on making their final approaches in past Beau Blanc Island and over to the finish here at Mackinac Island. There's many, let's see if I can get a count. A lot of boats have finished, well over 100, I believe, and and they're still coming in. So let's look and see who's out there, and then come back a little bit to see who's finished and make some comments about that. So using our leaderboard, we will, let's use our leaderboard and look not at fleet overall, but let's look at some individual classes out here that are still at it. Class G, everybody's finished there. Excuse me, this is, let's look to Class H. Yeah, so just about everybody's finished there too. This is the Beneteau first 36.7 class, I believe. And a Canadian team from Toronto, Zingara, has won that class. I've talked with one of their crewmen, Jeff Moore, at Bayview a couple days before the race. This is their first race, I think he said, in this boat. And certainly good for first time out. That class is preparing for their Class 1 design, either North American or National Championship coming up in Sheboygan in the next week or two. So, yeah, this will be a good tune-up for them. Let's see, Class I. Yep, got quite a few finishers here as well. That class looks like it's in pretty good shape. Synchronicity, the J109 we talked about earlier, they've come through. Fast Tango, Class J, they were able to hang on by their fingernails. The Eliminator was in the lead in this morning's show, but as I explained, anything can happen in the last few hours, and by the nature of that calculation of projections, that didn't pan out for the Eliminator, and Fast Tango was able to hold on to their crown in that class, and we'll look at a moment at some of the corrected time deltas, but yeah, it's 2.5 hours is I think what I see here. Class K, and this one also has, well, let's see, yeah, not many finishers, just one actually. Canadian boat Underdog has finished, and now we're getting into Division 2 boats, Class L. These guys are still out. Class M, and they are still out. And the double-handed class has some finishers and some that are still out, so that's a little bit of a mix there. All right, so we'll close that window and let's see where the crowns are. These are teams that are in the lead in their class. So Riptide and Express 27. These guys are Class N double-handed right now. They have the crown. That's actually been passed off between a few different teams. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so I get some resolution here. And by the way, from our vantage point here on the island, when you look at this, look at these boats making final approach, it's not glassy. There are small ripples on the water, but it's very patchy. So, and it looks as though the wind has shifted a little bit. We can put on our windy app and see if that gives us a little guidance, but basically, yeah, very light air, generally out of the east. Although, from what we see here, I think some of these boats are actually getting a little bit of a westerly and even northwesterly on their approach in here. It's very, very spotty, and they're just sailing from patch to patch. So not unexpected in these conditions. Here we go. So On a Whim continues to lead the Santana 35 class, and this is Riptide, the 27, leading the double-handers. Albacore is leading, this is that very old SNS Pilot 33. They're still leading Class M on corrected time. And do we have any other crowns? There's another crown. And this is, yeah, Jeremy Thompson on the Traveler. That is not a powered-up boat, I'll tell you. They've got a short rig, but their rating reflects that. And right now, they're doing okay. 4.6 knots is pretty good. So they've got some breeze down there that they're able to hang on to where they are in the standings. We'll see in the next few hours when they make their final approach into the island. I wanted to also let everybody know that when you go to the results page, and let's say we look at Division 1 results, this has been sometimes a little bit slow to load. I don't know if there were problems with the server, and maybe it's just getting overwhelmed with everybody pinging it to look at results as they come in. But these are the classes. These are teams that have finished. Some of these, as you can see, have not finished, and that's shown in the bottom. And of the Division 1 sections or classes, these are the standings. And the only reason this wouldn't be final is if there was some administrative or procedural problem. But I wanted to also explain how this works and how these calculations are made. These are the ratings for the boat. This is on time scoring method based on the shore course of the Bayview Mac Race course model. I think I discussed that in one of the early shows. So that number, that coefficient, is multiplied by the elapsed time in the course. Now, this is not elapsed time. This is finish time. So I think this is actually elapsed time. So this is a little misidentified. And in the final column here is the actual corrected time. So 3762 is multiplied by 22 hours, 7 minutes, 43 seconds for Mockingbird to come up with 30 hours, 27 minutes, 12 seconds as their corrected time. And as you can see, they defeated in corrected time WinQuest in second place by almost 10 minutes. Now, if you remember, Wizard was first across the finish line yesterday, so they have the lowest elapsed time. There it goes, it's updating. Lowest elapsed time, but they also have a higher rating, so that results in a higher corrected time. So ranked from fastest corrected time corrected time to slowest corrected time. These are the way the standings are. GL 52s, as you can see, are all in the top 6 in this class. Bill McKinley's Denali 3 is a very fast Kerr 46. They're not very far behind and are in the same genre. And then come the sleds in this class, this grouping here. So it's that's the way that's shaked out for Class A. Madcap, the Santa Cruz 52, has done well to hang on for what looks like a fairly narrow. I mean, that's less than an hour of corrected time against their runner-up Talisman. And then here only 3 minutes, actually. Only 3 minutes later was MC2, Dan Lewis's Reichel Pugh 50. So some of these corrected times are going to be quite close. So we'll have a look at that and what the significance of that is in an upcoming show. Didn't want to spend too much time on that today, but I did want to explain how these corrected times work relative to their elapsed times and their ratings. So class winners are thus far Mockingbird, Madcap, Padawan 4 in the J111s, Funtech Racing in the J120s, Eagle 1, the Sydney 41 in Class E. That's a big class. Smoke Show, Jake Thomas's JPK 1080 from Sandusky. They're hanging on in corrected time by a pretty good margin too, actually, in Class F. Falcon, looks like they've done well, but pretty close margin there in the J35s. That, my friends, is only a minute and a half between those two. And this is, so this is, they're all sailing one design, so they have the same rating, and therefore corrected times will equal elapsed times. And yeah, it's, well, not quite. They're multiplied by their common rating, but nonetheless, they incredibly close. They're in the 35s. Zingara, boat from Toronto, is on top in Class H. Also, look how close that is, folks. 45 seconds in corrected time. Although, again, I'm misspoken here. Again, this is a one design class. They are sailing in a common rating. So that's not only 45 seconds in corrected time, but also 45 seconds in elapsed time. So those two very close at the end. Synchronicity, Chris Mallett's J109. Yeah, that's pretty big margin there. Over an hour and a half, almost 2 hours for them over the next J109 in Class I. We'll have a brief look at the Division 2, and fortunately this server's behaving well now. These results are loading quickly. Half an hour ago it wasn't the case. Our friends in Class J, Tim Proffick and the Eliminator, those two were neck and neck, as you remember from the last show, looking at their corrected times because they are racing under handicap against each other. Tim was able to hang on to that lead by about 50 minutes or so. We could do that math. And yeah, so Fast Tango was able to hang on to their class crown. They were defending champions in this class last year. Underdog seems to have, well, actually the others haven't finished yet, but they are sailing as one design, so Underdog will take the crown for the CNC 35 Mark 1s. And nobody's quite finished yet. We saw on a whim out there on the tracker that they're closest to the finish line. We'll see if they're able to hold on. Class M is also quite a big variety of boats. They have one boat finished, this Tartan 10, Tenacity, but we'll see if the others are able to. Albacore, I think, was the one that we saw on the tracker, who was within reach in corrected time, but they still got to get across the line. The double-handed class, we have a few finishers, and American Flyer is still sitting in the lead. However, one of the boats that was still out there, Riptide, was getting a crown for their projected finish time, but we've seen this change, so we'll see if they're able to get in within their time allowance. White Hawk, largest boat in the fleet. They excuse me, are able to hang on in this cruising class O. Cruising class P only has 3 finishers so far. So let's see. Yeah, Merrick is sitting on top there at the moment. And then the slowest class out there, Class Q, there was a crown over, where is he? Yeah, Jeremy Thompson on Traveler. But they're one of the slowest boats in the fleet, and according to where they are on the tracker, they're in good shape, but they still got to get across the finish. So I hope that gives everybody a bit of an overview of where we are now. There is a big long train of boats out there. We do. We hope to get some images. I know our photographer Martin is working like crazy out there to bring us some new images from the race course. But for now, for this show, we're going to have to deal with an old image there, and invite you to tune in again later this evening when we'll have a little more information and hopefully some images. And I wish everybody a great day, and thanks for tuning in to our Bayview Mac Show. For VanTol and Vitelli Insurance Group and LCS Record Retrieval, I'm Dobbs Davis.